The ladies are just in their groove, and I'm still in there, checking, looking, liking, motivating, but there just weren't a lot of questions. But today, there are. So I figured I would do a video. There were actually a couple of questions in regards to containers and recipes, and like, how do you know your containers if it's not a Belle Vitale recipe? And this is where it gets a little bit trickier. Now, you obviously can go through Gut Protocol recipes, and there's going to be a lot in Gut Protocol that will fit Belle Vitale. So if you've got the Gut Protocol cookbook, or if you're a member of Body, you want to look at some of the Gut Protocol recipes that are under that title. You can look and you can use those as well, because like I said, a lot of them will fit the program. Same thing with Portion Fix. If you have Portion Fix cookbooks, or again, are a member of Body, a lot of the Portion Fix recipes will fit with Belle Vitale. So while it looks like Belle Vitale only has, I think, 42 recipes in it right now, there are a lot of other ones within our ecosystem that you can use. And that's going to be the easiest way to do it, because unless you're creating your own recipe, making your own recipe, it's going to be harder to know what your containers are. So if you're out at a restaurant, it's going to be a little bit harder. Like if you're not ordering steak and veggies, it's going to be harder if you're getting a dish that has a bunch of stuff in it. If you're out at a restaurant, you can assume they've used a lot of oil. You can assume there's probably more sugar in the recipe than you would expect, especially salad dressings tend to have a lot of sugar in them. So I would just keep those things in mind, that the oil quality, and the sugar tend to be higher than you would expect when you're eating out. Y'all that worked in the restaurant industry for a very long time, I know it's in that stuff. Now, if you're making a recipe from a cookbook, you probably can figure it out. Like if it's calling for a tablespoon of oil, and it says it makes 4 servings, a tablespoon has 3 teaspoons in it. So you know you're almost at a teaspoon per serving. You could even count it as half of a teaspoon. If you're making a recipe and it has a pound of chicken or beef or something in it, and it's 4 servings, each serving is going to be 1 red. But it does get a little bit harder. You're going to have to do the math, right? Like, how many cups of vegetables is it telling me to put in? How many servings is it making? 1 green container is 1 cup, so you can kind of start to do the math that way. As long as you're getting fairly close, remember again, this is not about coming down to the precise dot and saying, I know I had exactly this many calories for the day, right? Even within the bracket, there's a 300 calorie range. And that means even your protein intake, your carbohydrate intake, your fat intake is going to vary a little bit depending on what foods you're picking. And this is why picking variety of foods and not eating the same thing over and over and over again also really helps, because not only are we getting our different vitamins and minerals, even our macronutrients, while we're still going to be in that range, right? We're still going to be hitting basically our split, our 40-30-30 or 45-30-25, depending on what phase you're in. Get a little bit different when you choose different foods. So in regards to containers, like I said, I would try to go for a recipe that Bobby and I have done in at least one of the programs, Portion Fix, Gut Protocol, or Belle Vitale. That's going to help you figure out your containers. The easiest is going to help you know your added sugars. The easiest, making sure that there's nothing in there that you're not wanting to have right now. And then another question I saw come up was in regards to sort of staying on track or getting back on track. So somebody said that they were struggling, like they go 2 days doing good on the nutrition and then they kind of fall off, and 2 days doing good and fall off. And she reminds herself that there's literally thousands of women in this group, and I have another group too with, I think, 4,200 women in it. That is the early bird group that is in that one. But anyways, doing the program. She reminds herself that there's thousands of women doing the program and sticking to it so that she can do it too. So I really like that mindset of like, I can do this too, right? There's a roadmap. Somebody else is showing you it can be done, so you know you can do it. However, when you start saying, like, what are your tips? What are your tricks? What's the motivation? I think those are 3 words that can be very dangerous when we're trying to change up an eating habit, changing up a lifestyle, or even exercising, right? What are your tips? What are your tricks? How do you stay motivated? It's not about a tip or a trick. Like, yes, there are certain little things, of course. Like, people will say, set your workout clothes out the night before so that you're ready and you put them on first thing in the morning. Schedule your workout like you schedule a meeting with your boss and don't miss it. Of course, like, that's a tip, that's a trick you can do, but at the end of the day, if you haven't adjusted your mindset, if you haven't made it a priority, you know it's not a meeting with your boss and you just won't do it. So, or if you don't have motivation that day, you just won't do it. So the tips and the tricks will only get you so far. And this is why I say everything in regards to our health starts here. It starts with your mindset. It starts with your mindset or your belief, I guess you could say, about what you're doing. Is your belief it's not really going to work for you? Is your belief it's too restrictive and it's not something that you're going to stick to long term? Because then you're not making a lifestyle. You're just like muscling through it. Are you not acknowledging why you need to do this? Because you're the one that picked to be here. And I'm not saying this in a mean way, right? I'm saying this in the most loving way of trying to help you shift that mindset and shift your beliefs. Like, nobody's forcing you. You have a reason you wanted to do the program, whether it was to get rid of hot flashes or night sweats or lose weight that you haven't been able to lose or deal with horrible mood swings or really painful cycles or irregular cycles, or you have no libido whatsoever and that's causing a problem in your relationship. You chose to do it for a reason, or maybe a multitude of reasons. Are you leaning into those reasons, or are you just trying to white knuckle through and say, I'll do this for as long as I need to get the symptoms to go away, and then I'm going back to my old way? Because the second you go back to your old way, all of those old symptoms are coming right back. I can promise you that. Like, it's like fixing something and then hitting it with a hammer again. Like, oh, I hit this with a hammer, it broke, so then I fixed it. But now that it's working again, I can hit it with a hammer again, right? So all this stress that we're dealing with and I know there's a lot of food out there. There's junk food out there. There's foods that are tempting. I was at the grocery store yesterday and all the Easter candy is already out. I think Easter's in April this year, like end of April, the 20th. So 2 months away, but we have the Easter candy out already to tempt people. So I get it. I get that there is temptations everywhere, but that is why it's not about a tip. It's not about a trick. It's not about always being motivated. It's about adjusting your mindset. It's not always easy for me either, y'all. Like, I have a sweet tooth. Obviously, I want to enjoy fun things too. I was just in Napa for the weekend, and I made a conscious choice. I knew I had that weekend planned for a while. I made the conscious choice going into that weekend that I was going to enjoy the wine tastings. But I was just going to enjoy the wine tastings. I'm not doing mimosas at breakfast. I'm not doing wine at dinner. We had 2 wine tastings scheduled, and I was going to enjoy those. I did. I didn't drink all of my wine because I think the first winery we went to had 4 or 5 that we were tasting, and the second one had 6. So I didn't finish every taste of every glass. I would have been on my ass if I did. If there was one I liked more, I had a few more sips of that. If there was one I was like, oh, that's good, but not really my thing, great, I tasted it, I moved on. But I knew I had it planned. But I also made sure I picked really healthy food at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner. I still enjoyed my food, but it was healthy. I made sure I was drinking my water. It was rest days, but we got walks in both days. And then when I got home, first thing I do, grocery shop, stock the fridge, and I'm right back at it. I'm done. That was great. That was fun. I don't need to keep going. But that is a mindset choice that I make on a regular basis. And sometimes I'm standing there at the refrigerator or pantry talking myself through those mindset choices. Like at night, if I have a sweet tooth craving, sometimes I will have something. I'll have a little dark square of chocolate, or I might make a little recipe from Belle Vitale or got protocol or something like that and have a little bit. But a lot of times I'm just talking myself through, like, Autumn, You don't need something sweet. You want something sweet. You don't need something sweet. It's gonna break your fasting window because you already had dinner over an hour ago. Like, you're eating it because you're bored, or you're wanting to eat it because you're bored. I will have this conversation in my mind. And then I'm like, go do something else. So I will. I'll go read. I'll go take a bath. I'll go sit in the sauna. I will put on a show. Whatever it is, Dom and I will play a game. But it's a mindset of, I don't have to have this. I understand that I want it, but I'm also a big girl, and I can understand that I want hot flashes less. If you've had hot flashes, you know, they're miserable. They're like the worst thing ever. So like, not having hot flashes, I'll do anything for that. That is the mindset shift I made. I remember on the video call with my doctor, when my weight had all of a sudden gone up 5 pounds in a week, when I couldn't stop crying, and when I was literally having hot flashes every 2 seconds. It all happened in 1 week. It was like, boom, hormones out of control. And I remember crying to my doctor, and I was like, I can't, absolutely not. I cannot live like this, so what do I need to do? Like, I will do anything. And that's what got me diving into the research, and that's what got me going, okay, there's so many things that I can take control of. I can take control of my stress. Okay, I can adjust my food a little bit. I can cut down on the carbs and the sugar a little bit and balance that a little bit more. Oh, I've been going really intense in my workouts. And while some intensity is good, I've probably been going too hard. Okay, let me make these shifts. And as I started to make those shifts and started to feel better, it becomes easier to stick with it because you feel better. And let me tell you, after the wine tastings, as fun as they were, I did have a couple hot flashes. And I was like, okay, see, and this is why we don't do it. This is why we don't do it on a regular basis. They went away after like a day or two of being home. And there weren't that many. It wasn't like it used to be. But for me, that's a little harder on my body. It just is. That's just me. So I'm getting long here, but the whole point was to just say it's more a mindset shift that you have to make. You have to lean into your why. You have to understand that it's a lifestyle. You have to understand why you're doing it. You have to recognize that if you go back to the old habits, the old symptoms are going to come back. And you have to decide what is going to bring you more pain and what is going to bring you more pleasure. Is it more painful for you to not have the not so good for you food, the junk food and the alcohol? Right? Is that, in your mind, have you deemed that more painful than dealing with hot flashes, night sweats, stubborn weight gain, low libido, painful cycles? Because it might be. And in which case, if you think that sticking to the nutrition is harder and more painful than dealing with the symptoms, then you're probably not going to stick to the nutrition. But if you have decided that those symptoms are the worst, they bring you more pain than anything, and you're going to get way more pleasure out of life by sticking to eating healthy and exercising, then you're going to stick to eating healthy and exercising. Pain, pleasure. That's really what it is. What are you associating pain with? What are you associating pleasure with? I associate pleasure with eating healthy and exercising because, one, I make food that I really like, so I actually enjoy my food. I never feel like I'm not enjoying my food. I love the way I feel. I love my energy. I love my sleep. I love the way my skin looks. I'll be the first to admit it, ladies. It's not, my health is priority number one, but I like to look and feel good in my clothes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Not putting that on anybody else, but for me, I want that. I want to see my muscle definition, and I want to feel and look a certain way. So when all of those things are falling into place, and I know it's because of my healthy habits, I'm going to keep doing those healthy habits. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives a little motivation to think about your mindset. Sit down and answer some questions for yourself about what are you associating pain with? What are you associating pleasure with? What is your mindset around this program, sticking to the nutrition? What is your mindset around making it a lifestyle? What are your beliefs about it? Are you excited and you just can't wait till it's over and so you can go back to all those old ways? And then ask yourself, what's going to happen if I don't do this? And be really real with yourself. What's going to happen? How am I going to feel if I don't stick to this? And then ask yourself on the opposite side of that, how am I going to feel? What's going to happen if I do stick with this and I do make this shift? And that is going to make it an easier switch.